Hello, dear guests. Welcome to the Maastricht University Council debate. My name is Adina, and I will be moderating this debate with the help of my wonderful team, which is working very hard behind the scenes. Let us welcome our candidates for the 2024-2025 University Council elections. And here they are. Our first candidate is Kritik Rock from the Khan Party.
Hi, I'm Kritik. I study European Studies at Vasos, and I, after being a board member of Khan Party, have now been a council member for the last 2 years. And this is my third time running for the University Council, which I've been a member of for the last year. As a member of Khan Party, we really have a focus on sustainability and the environment. But in addition to that, my campaign brings a focus on the international character of our university. I believe as the most international university in Europe, we have a responsibility to protect that status that we have and the environment that we provide for our international students. In addition to that, I also have my eye on continuing the efforts put into more diversity-sensitive training and hiring policies.
Kritik Rock, a true veteran of the University Council. And a fun fact about him is that his parents gave him 3 family names, but somehow he ended up on his official documents with 6 names in total. Our second candidate is Amin Abid from Novu UM, and this is his third term as well.
My name is Amin Abid. I'm this year's 7th candidate on the University Council list for Novu. I'm a former political officer of Novum and this year's vice chair of the University Council. This year, Novum's program encompasses 5 topics, which is education, sustainability, housing, internationalism, and well-being. Our party is the most representative party across the entire university. We have been actively participating in student representation both within the university, but also by networking outside the university to local parties that are represented in the City Council. One of our main aims this year is to further enhance the cooperation between the City Council of Maastricht and the University Council. One joint meeting has already been established, and we aim to further and deepen the relationship in order to make a better environment both for students that are enrolled in the university, but also for the local citizens, and to unify them.
Amin comes from Germany, but as it happens, he has lived for the past 4 years in Belgium to end up studying at Maastricht University. Our next candidate representing List Lex is Bram. And as a child, he was really into April Fool's jokes. So much so that one time, one of his jokes actually became viral and ended up on television, which resulted in him earning tickets to his favorite football match.
My name is Bram van den Bergmontel, and I represent the party List Lex Motus. My main points for these elections will be, first of all, communication. I think it's important for students that they have communication that is transparent and not spread all over the place. The second point is that we as representatives, as council members, most of the time you don't hear from us. I think a lot of people, the elections, they only see it when the actual election week is happening. We as List Lex Motus, we try to improve on that by having meetings, but also being always open to contact. If you as a student have any ideas, problems, solutions that the university can implement, that you can always have proposed to us, and we can propose that to the university. And I think it's good to have a lot of different parties inside of the council, because then you have the best representation of all the voices that are in the university.
Last but not least, we are going to introduce the representative from DOPE. Welcome, Matthijs.
Thank you.
Fun fact about him is that he just graduated from studying econometrics, despite having had the lowest grades in math in his previous study. So, Matthijs, tell us about your unique selling point.
I think my unique selling point is being a big team player. And I think I'm the one who leads by example. So I always want to set the right example. And in my opinion, the right example is listening to everybody, helping each other out. I think a leader helping each other out is like a beautiful thing, right? And not a leader that just demands everything from his workers, so to say. So I think that's my unique selling point.
Thank you very much. In the university council, a student has to show that they have what it takes to be able to make their voices heard on behalf of their voters. One needs to be able to sometimes be loud, roaring like a lion, and sometimes they need to be smart about how they achieve what they've set up to achieve, kind of like the way a lion does versus a fox does. So, here is a question for you to get us started. How do you see yourself in the council? Bram, do you see yourself more as a lion or more as a fox?
Oh, well, interesting question. Never thought about it like that. I think more as a fox. I believe it's better to be smart about your choices, to think about them, rather than be very vocal and loud. I think listening is one of the best things you can do, because then you gather information rather than tell things you already know. So I think a fox suits that better than a lion.
Thank you for your answer. How would that be for you, Abid? Tell me about it.
Well, I think it's important to know when to be a lion and when to be a fox, as you will always end up in different kinds of situations. Personally, for me, since I'm luckily a part of a team of other councillors from my party, we can exchange or play different roles. I tend to be sometimes more of a lion, but that is also because I do see or have seen in the previous years that it is sometimes important to stand your ground and to be consistent in the messaging that you have to achieve the goals you want to do, and to convince also the opposition and the opposite side from the solution that we are trying to search for all kinds of issues that we are facing.
Thank you for your answer. Critic, where do you stand on this matter?
I think I stand a lot like Bram on the side of being a fox. As in council work, you're not just at your meetings, but then you're also having to negotiate outside your meetings. And you have to be a people, you've got to have those people skills. And I think being a fox lends itself to being more flexible in that sense. You can pick up on how different people prefer communicating, and being a fox allows me to gauge that before I move in for the kill, so to speak.
Thank you very much for your input. Matthijs.
Yeah, good question. My parents always called me the Lion of Son. That's a town where I came from. So therefore, I have to choose a lion, I think. Otherwise, my parents would be mad. But over the years, I learned to switch from lion to fox mode a little bit. So yeah, just what everyone said a little bit here, I completely agree. But I can be a lion and a fox myself as well, but more of a lion, I think.
Here is a question for you to get us started. Student life represents a new beginning, and oftentimes when you are away from home, you're naturally looking for a place to gather around. That often happens around a shared meal, which takes place at Maastricht University in the Mensa.
I usually buy more of a snack, like a cookie or something to take, more than a full lunch. So once in a while it's fine, but yeah, it's pretty expensive. I try to buy as little as possible because it's a bit expensive. I don't really eat foods here, like from the university. I usually make my own things, but when I have eaten it, I find it a bit expensive.
A recent article in the Observant newspaper has outlined that some of the prices for food, especially for warm meals, are indeed very expensive, and sometimes even more expensive than things that you can find at the Albert Heijn supermarket. Can I ask for Dope to issue a comment on this?
But yeah, a chocolate croissant is, I think, just a chocolate croissant. You can pretty much compare it straight ahead, right? And if you compare like a supermarket price with a chocolate croissant price of the university, then I think it says here that it's €2 instead of €1 at Albert Heijn. That's just too big of a difference. So I'm actually a little bit shocked also.
I was just about to ask you if you were aware, actually.
No,
of
I was
this
not
big
aware.
difference.
No, I was not aware because I never bought a chocolate croissant at university. So I was not aware about the €2. I was aware about the €1 in Albert Heijn. But no, I was not aware. But yeah, €1 is just too big of a difference. So we have to close that gap for sure.
Thank you. Let's see what other students have to say about this matter.
This is one of the daily complaints among students at our faculty, and everyone knows this. Despite even promises of the faculties, nothing has been changed. Only empty promises have been done. Even last year, we had an initiative. Some of the students from the first year of psychology of the bachelor, we did an initiative called Students Before Profit Maastricht. And we did show that you can actually make affordable meals for students, and it doesn't really take much. For anywhere from €2 to €3.50, €4, we were able to offer very filling meals, unlike the Mensa meals, which are expensive and not even filling, so you can spend anywhere from €5 to €10 and still be hungry. We give the university now two viable solutions. One would be to subsidize the Mensa prices, and this would be done right away after the budget proposal. And the other options, which is gonna take a bit more, is to change the contract and go look for new catering companies. Please make this problem matter.
I mean, I'm curious because I know that your party has been involved in this matter. So I was wondering, how does negotiating with private companies help the students? And if you've considered other strategies as well.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So obviously, when we took office in September, food prices was one of our top priorities, which is why we brought it up in the meeting and then had the negotiations and the continuous meetings with the main provider or the main company that is active on the campus. And the reason we did that as the first step is to, first of all, understand actually why this is the current system of providing food on campus, as this is, of course, vastly different than what other students know from their home countries where food is actually subsidized. So what we wanted to first do is negotiate with Eurust, since we have a contract with them, there's a tender. Well, we believe that with negotiations with the main provider, that we could convince them to lower prices and then get more options on the table to a point that would become more significant visible for the students. I have to add, the change that I have seen visibly on campus as a student is the introduction of a so-called budget bun, which is a sandwich that was €1 to €2 cheaper than the others. I do not consider this a success by any means, but it is a signal that we have been heard, even if it's not to a sufficient amount, but there was a signal sent and there was some kind of response. Now, what we intend to do is, this is obviously not enough, and we have communicated that to them, and our communication will grow stronger into the next year, and that would also mean that we should aim for requesting the tender, and that we need to aim for actually investigating if there is a landscape and option for the university to subsidize food on campus, that we do not have to rely actually on private companies.
Right. Thank you for your input. I'm curious on behalf of Liz Lex, because you pride yourself on being the new kid on the block, the one that brings a new perspective or a fresh set of eyes.
Yeah.
What other strategies do you have in mind from what you've heard here already?
Well, first of all, what the strategies are listed in the video. I was listening to them, quite interesting. Subsidizing prices, as Amin also said, is an option. But also what they said is change the contract and try to work with parties that don't have a private component but are more publicly owned, or see what the university can do themselves. I think that is an interesting perspective, but we also have to look at if that's something that's actually we are able to realize within the current contracts that are there. I'm not aware of how the situation currently is. So that's why I think it's good that they're negotiating contracts. But it's always good to look at different perspectives within what's possible. And I think that is there's a world to win there.
Okay. From what you already know about your party, what have they been able to accomplish in the past years on this matter?
On this matter, I don't think much has been accomplished. We're quite a young party, as I've said, and last year, unfortunately, we had an absence where we're not in the University Council.
Okay. Critic.
Yeah, to add to this, I think, Brahman, I mean, you put this impeccably, and credit to the two novel members who are in the Operations Committee of the University Council, because I know that they've been working very hard on this topic. That's why we've even seen any achievements bringing the food prices at UM down this academic year. But to hop on the fact that,
Could you maybe give us an example here? Sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to follow your arguments. So can you give us some examples? In what way did your party take any initiative on these matters, if any at all?
No, I have to admit that my party did not make an effort specifically on Mensa catering, although...
Why not?
Why not? So to tell you a bit more about Khan Party, the political wing is one part of Khan. Khan stands for Klimataktien Network. So within the network, we're made up of a number of sustainable organizations around Maastricht, not just within the university. Two of them have to do with food sharing and wastage, like food wastage reduction. And the biggest one being, Food Coop, and for a while we had Eatly as well. So what Eatly does is they bring the vegetables and fruits that don't make it to the supermarkets because the supermarkets find them too ugly is the word that they use, but not visual quality for sale. And Food Coop is just food sharing. People are free to bring things to Food Coop as and when they wish, but Food Coop also has specific days on which they have larger drives, and you can visit them to pick up stuff or to drop food off. So seeing this, Khan Party has thought within our network, had enough of a focus on providing food options to students that we hadn't approached the Mensas themselves.
Okay. Let's see if we can also bring some action to the table. I'm curious on behalf of DOPE, because your party has been in the game the longest, and I'm pretty sure that the Mensa issue has been on your agenda. And even though you said that you were not aware of the impact of these prices and these problems, what can you say about these matters?
Yeah, the thing is, I'm personally very new to the whole council world, so therefore I've not been here for long. I've done things on the side, and for next year, the council was something I was very interested in. So unfortunately, I have not data and information over the past years.
So let me try to help you here.
Okay.
If I were to give you a magic wand and anything was possible in regards to solving this issue, what would be your first course of action?
So I think bringing the cost of food on campus close to the supermarket also needs some kind of empathy from some company who really wants to make a difference for the students. So you also have to have a little bit of empathy, not have a profit mind, but also really want to help the students here.
Okay.
So I think we need to look for some company with that in mind.
Got it. So if I take away the magic wand and I give you a little bit of a reasonable one, do you expect empathy on behalf of a corporation that is made for profit?
I've not done research on how much empathy there is, right? But I can think about students graduating, remembering that the cost for food was really expensive, maybe beginning a startup or having a company. So, I mean, everything is possible. This year I've had a lot of contact with companies for another organization, and I feel that empathy for students is really there. Maybe not. That was not on a food-based thing, but more of a project-based thing, and they really care about students. So, I mean, why not, right?
So, if I hear it correctly, then DOPE is setting out to find the mission-driven companies that are going to solve this issue on their behalf. Moving on to a new topic, on a very serious note, I'd like to open the conversation on a well-being matter, namely that of sexual safety within UM. We now know that 1 in 4 students are experiencing non-consensual physical contact, and almost 1 in 10 experiences rape. As I'm sure all of you agree, the issue of the utmost importance for ensuring the safety of our community is very important. So, what has your party done in the last year to move this issue forward?
So Khan Party's council work on this matter really goes to the heart of things at the strategy committee of the University Council, because the strategy committee is where the president of the university first took the idea to not just sign the letter from Amnesty International, but also to come up with the sort of plan or the skeleton of what we now know as UM's sexual safety program and team. So Khan's been there quite literally since day one. And when I say council work on this matter, it's not simply having a discussion about the statistics. It's about making sure if we were to come up with an office, they have a certain mandate for a period of years within the university.
Right.
Within this mandate, as a council member, we can make sure or keep an eye on their finances, for example, ensuring that they are in a position where they can be staffed appropriately for their needs, and supported, because these are experts on the topic.
Right.
As a student or a council member, you're not going to tell them how to do their job or how to fix sexual safety. What you
Sure.
can do is make sure that they are getting the money that they request, the materials that they request, the resources that they request.
Since you've been so closely involved in supporting them and following in their work, what can you share with us about the progress that this program has had so far? What are some deliverables, let's say, that they've achieved?
Yeah, so it's at this university, it's impossible to look at sexual safety alone without also looking at the social safety team. So there are two separate teams, a front office and back office for students or staff to reach out to, but then they constantly help each other out. And the big thing about a year ago, or at the beginning of this academic year, was the expansion of the social safety team to not just be a single confidential advisor, but 4 confidential advisors and a coordinator for social safety. So these are things that in the council we approved, we asked for, and we defended to be able to say, it's time that we have people dedicated to keeping an eye on these things in our community as their daily job.
What is the take of Novum on this matter? Would you like to share some inputs with us? I mean,
Yes. So unfortunately, we had seen this issue many years ago already, and has been voiced loudly in the community. I will just now mention one example outside of the sexual safety program, in which we supported a student initiative that started at the FASOS Faculty Council, which is the implementation of the Are You OK stickers. So the concept of the idea was initially, which has been done in FASOS, to attach a QR code at the bathrooms, which when you scan it, you would get immediate access to health centers, call numbers, in case that you as a student have witnessed or experienced unwanted behavior, and that you could immediately report that. This initiative has been expanded UM-wide.
sure.
And when we had our seats in the councils, and some FASOS council members that were Novum members or Novum councillors have worked on this as well,
Right.
he tried to push that and establish it throughout.
Do you think this is enough for the students that have experienced sexual violence within the university?
By far not. This is definitely not enough. But we also didn't want to just say that there is nothing to do, because that's also not true. So what we have then went on to do is, when many incidents occurred and they were brought to the media attention, the university obviously had signed the agreement with Amnesty, and they initiated a sexual safety program. And as long as we had seats on the university council, from the moment we experienced the implementation of the program, the rights that we had at that time was to follow up and to give advice on the trajectory of the implementation. And when we had that advice, what we wanted to do is to tell the university to notice on what the community actually communicates on this topic. And some of these demands that we would like to further explore also in the coming year, and that we have expressed in the meetings that we had, is
for example, the possibility of expanding consent lectures for different kinds of programs. We know there has been an introductory lecture for bachelor students. However, we believe that only having it in a few number of programs is still not enough. I think, or we believe that in every educational program at the beginning of the year, such a lecture should be mandatory. And aside from that, to look further into what student initiative groups, for example, Feminists of Maastricht, have different documents out where they perfectly outline the specific demands they have. And we would like to see the university to take these demands more critically, more seriously, and to explore the opportunities that are there.
University of Maastricht, I believe you know that in the last years they were a big part of the discussion. After issuing a letter to the university, that they entered a dialogue with management on how to change the system and make overall a safer space. Today we have the opportunity to talk to them. In fact, they have a presence here in this debate. They are with us right now, and they are joining us from a separate room in order to ensure their safety and privacy. The person did not want to reveal their identity for confidentiality reasons, and she goes by the name of Franny. Hi, Franny, welcome.
Hi, my name is Franny, and I'm representing Feminist of Maastricht. And Feminist of Maastricht is an intersectional feminist collective, and as part of our work, we have established a forum where survivors of sexual violence can report their stories and also request whatever support they need, whatever form that is. And so the reason I'm speaking is because I would like to address the candidates as students who feel like they deserve to take on the responsibility of representing fellow students in university politics. So I also deeply hope that all of them are aware of the numbers I'm talking about. But for those who are just here to listen or do not know, Maastricht University has a devastatingly high prevalence of sexual violence and harassment. So results of a study conducted at University Maastricht showed that approximately 1 in 4 students, so 25.3%, experience non-consensual sexual touching, and almost 1 in 10 are raped. So last year, I remember talking to multiple candidates of the popular parties that are present, I guess, right now. And it was repeated multiple times by all parties how this issue was so important to them and hence a main point on their strategy, and that they would definitely do something to tackle this issue. And I think Kant Party, or I don't think, I know, Kant Party candidates even wrongly postulated that they were actually collaborating with FOM. So here right now, I would like to ask straightforwardly to the candidates present right now, as someone who does receive these reports on sexual violence by survivors, what have you and your party done this year to create a safe environment for survivors of sexual assault?
Thank you. So the question is, what have you and your party done this year to increase the safety of victims of sexual assault within
Okay, I'll still take the lead and take point on this question. Kant Party members in the FASUS Faculty Council, who also therefore are part of the FASUS student representatives, have been looking into questioning the sort of methodology under which the management decided to proceed. And I mean, obviously I'm being a little, if I sound like I'm walking on eggshells about this, it's because I'm trying not to give away names or infringe upon anyone's privacy.
Sure.
But essentially the objective here was to question whether these practices were ethical at all with regards to things like inviting the abuser and the victim to the same room for a talk, with regards to things like how the victim was supported after that by the management. But this, of course, also plays into, or based on the incidents. I also do not have the most information on this, but also plays into how the community got involved.
Sure.
This isn't just a FASUS thing. FASUS was just the very first example.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for your input. Franny, I'm curious, do you have any comment?
Like the person from Khan Party, if I understood it correctly, just said that they were part of reviewing how the university handled this case, which allegedly was happening at Fasos Party, and there they critiqued the fact that mediation was proposed.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's bullshit.
What is your comment on this?
But that's a lie. Comment is that whatever or whoever just said that just blatantly lied, because that's just not true. Khan Party and the case we're talking about also was not at Fasos, but it was at the law faculty.
If you have any comments, please.
Yeah, no. I mean, the law faculty case, multiple cases are also what I was thinking of following up on. I mentioned the FASOS one because, well, we have no Khan Party members at the law faculty council this year. At FASOS, though, both Khan Party members are in the DIAS working group of the student representatives, and DIAS stands for Diversity, Inclusivity, Accessibility, and Sustainability. And they, amongst the working groups under the student representatives, they work most closely with the complaints committee, the representative in the student representatives, who's a member of the complaints committee. And this is the link to the multiple complaints at FASOS.
Okay, thank you. I'm curious, what's the comment on behalf of Novum in regards to what Franny just shared with us?
Well, I think it's correct to say, it's not now related to Khan, but in general, that way too little has been done to address this topic. Even though, of course, well, I mentioned with the QR code stickers as like one step, but this is like very tiny in comparison to what is actually needed. For this year, the only thing, or the thing we managed to do so far, was to question and look into the procedure of issuing complaints. So one thing that we internally as a party noticed is that when applying or when trying to submit an appeal, a formal complaint, that the procedure for a formal complaint is very time-consuming and can be a huge psychological burden for people that have witnessed any kind of incident. And what we have communicated within the council is following problems. The procedures to file complaints need to be simplified to the extent that support can be directly accessed. One addition, or one thing we got to vote on, is to allow the ombudsperson, that is a confidential advisor that works independent from the executive board, so she's allowed to conduct her own investigations and actions into any kind of matter. That person's function has been extended towards students. We have voted in favor for that, in the hopes that this could alleviate the issues when it comes to applying complaints.
Thank you. Franny, do you have a comment on what the candidate from Novum just shared?
Yes, I guess I would just kind of like to end by saying that, so last year, Feminist of Maastricht did sit in a series of conversations with both employees and also members of University Maastricht to discuss, again, how the university fails to create a safe environment for survivors, and also how the university does not foster an educational environment where we can unlearn rape culture, or where this would in general be made possible. And the university rejected all of our requests and suggestions and demands. So, for example, we asked for like a long-term educational program for both students and staff regarding consent and rape culture, but all of that was reduced to like a short presentation during introduction days. The fear that we have is that University Maastricht is implementing all these small measures and using you, so the parties and the students of the university politics, as a form of pinkwashing to depict itself as a progressive institution. And that really saddens us to see that fellow students are complicit in this cycle of violence in which rape culture remains fostered, and also fraternities are labeled as safe again and given back their funding, when we see that 1 in 4 Flinter people experience sexual violence in this institution. So I think it's ultimately less of a question and more of an urgent appeal to take this please seriously, and also use the privilege and responsibility that your guys' roles comes with, because, yeah.
Right. Thank you for your input.
I'm wondering, on behalf of DOPE, if you could share with us, how did you approach this issue? And would you like to share your perspective on sexual safety currently done at UM?
Yes, of course. First of all, I want to say that, in contrary to some of the guys here, I've not been in the council life for a long time, so I cannot elaborate on what we did in the past a lot, unfortunately. So, excuse me for that. But I will say that we've put it actually right on top of our list for next year. And hopefully with that, we will make something happen. I think awareness is like one of the biggest thing. You can do it in a multiple ways, via a sticker, for example, which is a small thing, but it just raises already the awareness, because some of us never will experience any like sexual harassment or something, if I might say so.
Sure. I'd like to ask, on behalf of Listlex, where is your stance on this matter, and how have things been addressed in the previous year by your organization?
Well, I unfortunately have to say I don't know exactly what has been done about this specific topic about Listlex. I haven't been involved the whole year, so I can't say it. I can only comment about me as an individual, and I have to agree that insufficiently things have been done, especially if you hear the statistics presented to us. It shocks me, and I'm not informed enough about this topic to really give you details about how we as a party have been involved in that. The only thing I can say is that we're very much open to collaborate on this, and we as a party need and should get more informed, so that in the next election and then in the future we can give better answers to this. But right now, unfortunately, don't have a perfect answer for you right now.
I'd like to say a big thank you to Franny that was here with us to explain the stance of Feminists of Maastricht. I really appreciate your input, and it has been very valuable for us to learn how things are for you.
Welcome.
I would like to invite you to turn your attention towards something that's really at the core of Maastricht University, and that is our international student and staff community.
I feel part of a close-knit community. Because of the international character of the university, you can easily connect with different nationalities. Studying together, working together, growing together, living together. Beautiful, isn't it? This is my university. This is UM.
Wow, it looks like UM is doing really a good job when it comes to creating a new generation of global citizens. What is internationalism to you, and how do you see internationalization developing further at UM in the future? Bram, would you like to give us your take on this?
Yeah, sure. I think internationalism is an integral part of our university. Maastricht University, it profiles itself as the European university, and I think our international character is something we should cherish as a university. However, right now there's a national debate going on how the policy of the Netherlands will be on internationalism. I think we as Maastricht University, we should try to do what we can to hold the international character that we have. As a university, lobby to not make all courses in Dutch, but find that place within the policy to be the international university that we are. I think the cultures and the mixing pot that Maastricht can be is one of the best things we have and we should hold on to. And in the meantime, while we're waiting on what the national policy does, make it so that international students can feel at home as much as possible, integrate them and provide them with the right information so that they feel at home but also are able to study as well as possible.
Thank you. What is the take of Novum? Amin, would you like to tell us something about this?
Well, for our party, internationalism is also the core value and integral part of our identity. And therefore, we were basically on and above the topic since these discussions happened, since last year, when, parts of our election actually went quite viral over the country, where more discussions were triggered. And what we integrally believe is that an international university can be a proof of concept for how other universities in the future can develop towards to. And that is basically that the benefits come from the fact that people can collaborate when it comes to research, when it comes to an education, when it comes to creating an environment where people become more enlightened from the influx of different cultures. And we just believe that this integral core part, even though discussions are happening nationwide, that the Netherlands deserves to have an international university. And we believe that the Dutch society deserves to benefit from that perspective. And we want to basically, what it actually means for an international university is to promote unity. The concept of unity that we would like or we would wish to see worldwide, but we also want to establish right here in Maastricht as a proof of concept.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. Kan, what is your stance as a party on the issue of internationalization at UM?
So for Khan as well, it goes beyond stance. Khan was founded 5 years ago on the principles of both sustainability and internationalization as well, or preserving the international character and representing international students at UM. So on that topic, I do have to say, and I mean, in case it isn't clear, I'm a non-EU student, but I'm here at Maastricht University because the idea resonated with me. It's not just internationalism that's embedded into the character and the values of the university, but it's really a non-negotiable. And where you see this is, without giving away anything that's too confidential, I can tell you with confidence, the university fights real hard at The Hague, and that's important because this is, of course, a national topic at this point in time. But the national topic, it's one of several national topics, which is why we see a lot of these delays. For example, with the big bill, the internationalization in balance, or internationalisering in balance, that's the Dutch word, the Dutch name. You've got delays and word that we at the strategy committee of the University Council received from the president of the university this morning was that the minister intends to put it out and send it to the second chamber before the summer.
So it's a work in progress.
So it's a work in progress.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. If I may just end by saying, as long as it's a work in progress there, it's a work in progress that Khan has also got its eye on here.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
What is the stance of DOPE on this matter?
Yeah, of course, in my opinion, in Dope's opinion, internationalism basically means like a world, imagine a world without borders. Everyone can go wherever they want without limitations, restrictions, etc. We have a big exchange program also. I went to France. I experienced it like very good. It was a very good experience for me. I learned a lot about the French people. The French people learn a lot about us, the international people. And I think it's the same here in Maastricht. In my study program itself, there are a lot of international students collaborating perfectly with each other, combining information from around the globe. You have a lot of German people bringing German concepts into the table. So yeah, I think it's a very good thing to have the unity of all those international students here together in Maastricht. And I think we should do try our best, and it will work, and keep the internationalism here in Maastricht.
Yeah. Now that we know, of course, how each of your parties is relating to this topic, I thought it was good to know that according to the UNL, the Dutch language skills of Dutch and international students shall be improved by making modules available that allow students to strengthen their expressive skills. So I would like to come back to you as the representative of DOPE to tell us a little bit about this, because I know that in the previous years, your organization has been the largest student representative party at UM, with quite some influence, actually, on the workings of the University Council. Your current website, if I'm not mistaken, is currently showing that you stand for free language courses. And I am curious to know if this has changed or if this information is still up to date.
Yeah, this is for sure still up to date. I mean, free language courses is, I think, a big thing. Also, because like international people come here, maybe they want to integrate.
The reason why I was asking if this information is up to date is because on your website, it looks like somehow you are still relating to the presence of teaching during the pandemic. And that's been quite a while ago. So I was wondering if your website maybe needs a little bit of updating, and if that also implies an update on your policy or the things that you stand for.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been appointed like recently, so I've not been included in like the website or things. So like I'm not at the background of the website. I'm working on that. But I mean, like the free language courses is still a big thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying that for us. I would like us now to take a look at how our students are relating to this topic and what they have to say about it.
My name is Olga Kosekova. I'm the faculty counselor of FHML, and I'm a second-year biomedical sciences student. Personally, it's a very particular situation that I am at a faculty that is mostly Dutch, and it's Dutch-oriented because of the bachelors that we have. And as a faculty counselor at FHML, I think that would be the strongest point of interaction where I felt like there was lack of internationalism, lack of understanding for this issue. So I personally am not given the opportunity to do my job properly because English is not spoken during meetings. And I think this is how it affects me the most, because I feel like I can't express the voices and the opinions of international students. They're just simply not represented. There could be more comfort provided, and especially in the professional careers that require potentially, especially in healthcare, language requirements, for example, right? So in this way, language courses could be provided with a certain subsidy, for example, the way that other subsidies are provided. So this is something that Maastricht University can focus on.
In light of this information, would anyone like to take the lead in commenting on this? Go ahead.
If I may?
Please.
Yeah, you just raised a good question about providing a free Dutch learning program, like learning the language, right? I think it is all about giving opportunities for students. If a student really wants to study at the FHML and wants to do a specific course, I mean, like transferring a whole Dutch-speaking course to an English-speaking course, I think that takes time. I think it's hard to do it in the short term. Maybe in the long term, provide with an English study program, which is comparable. So, as I just said, providing a free Dutch learning course is like a very good thing to provide options for students to maybe learn the Dutch language if they really want to do or to go for a certain...
And if this is the case, I'm curious to know, why hasn't your party actually voted for the budget allocated for this?
Yeah, again, I wasn't at the voting, so unfortunately I cannot really elaborate on that. But okay, if you can maybe explain a little bit about the voting, then.
What I'm referring to is the fact that the budget did not include organizing these workshops, these language workshops. and your party has actually gave a vote of approval to this current budget, which to me sounds a little bit conflicting. If this value you have is to provide these courses, why are you supporting a budget that doesn't include them?
I mean, you have to take. You cannot take everything, right? And I think it's a good thing to provide students with options. But if it's not the most desirable thing, then we unfortunately have to vote against something to make room for somewhere else.
So do you know at the moment which options are actually on the table for these students?
I don't know what you're asking right now.
Well,
so
for example, do you know the cost involved in a language course for a student that they would have to sustain themselves in the absence of this factor being budgeted in?
I don't know the numbers by heart now.
Okay. Is there something that maybe Novum has to bring to the table on this topic?
Please.
Do you know something about this that you would share with us?
We know there was, a few years ago, the introduction of the free social Dutch courses. That was, in the past, it was intended for first-year bachelor students. So when I started studying in 2019, in that year only, from 2019 to 2020, I would have been able to take a free social Dutch course and learn basically A1 to A2 basics. Once I entered the second and the third year, I would not have had access to this basic course. A year ago, me and another fellow Novum counselor, Charles de Holt, we requested to extend the free Dutch social courses onto the second and third year bachelor students, because we know that the students who start in their first year many of them come also from other countries, so non-English speaking countries.
Okay.
So we believe they need some time to also learn their program, maybe learn English itself as an academic language,
with you.
and then in the second and third to take on the course.
My question here is, why hasn't it been done yet, since it's been in the works since last year?
We have requested to Rianne Letcher to extend it for second and third year bachelor students, and she has agreed. And to our knowledge, this has been done.
Okay.
So
it's
second and
about to be implemented for the rest of the student population.
It should have been already extended. So under my belief, the second and third year bachelor students should also have access to the free social Dutch course. And if I'm even not wrong, but I vaguely remember that also first year master's students had a shot at taking that.
Okay, so your implication here was about extending the access to second and third year students.
Yeah, for the basic social Dutch course.
Okay, but what about expanding the language courses beyond social Dutch?
Exactly, that's a good point. And that is something we then express as a follow-up, because we know that A1, A2 Dutch, it's nice to have, but obviously the question is, can people later achieve maybe B1 if they really want to have a full, like a job aside to their studies? Unfortunately, the request or the response that we would get is that this would be a costly investment from the university, as it would mean that the course would have to be subsidized. As of now, I believe you can go to the language center and take a Dutch course up to B2, but you would have to pay the fee. And obviously, we understand many students are not in the financial position to make that commitment, so we urge to subsidize them.
Do you know how much a language course costs at the language center now? If you want to excel your level, as we've seen in the video, you kind of need it for the Dutch labor market, especially in certain fields. How much investment is that required on behalf of the students?
So I heard a number in the past. I might be still wrong on it. I think maybe for achieving one level within 1 year, 300 to 400 euros was a number that I had in my mind. And, well, obviously that is a number. Yeah.
Thank you. Since internalization is one of the core values of Khan, I'm curious to know, what have you been doing on behalf of the students to support them in attaining better Dutch skills language?
So I'm going to talk primarily about council work that Khan Party's council members have done in the last few years. And a lot of this has to do with aligning with the municipal council when the municipal council speaks about the stay rate. And what this means is, well, the image of the average student's life in Maastricht rarely goes beyond 3 years, and it's the 3 years of their study. And that lends itself to the very obvious question: why is it that international students do not stay on in Maastricht? So I'm very happy that we're talking about the offerings from the Language Center, because that absolutely is probably the first step, because without offering these courses free or subsidized is really the only solution that all parties should think about and move forward on. And why that is because right now there's a big time and financial commitment.
Right.
Or I'd say time commitment, but financial barrier to learning Dutch if you're an international student who's not in their first year. Or now, and just to, I can fill in the gaps on what Amin was saying. So what's offered now is social Dutch courses have been extended to second-year bachelor students. And first-year master's students.
Here I have one little comment to make in regards to something that you said earlier, and that is that perhaps, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but actually about 60% of international students remain in the Netherlands after they finish their studies. And a question that naturally popped here is, why did your party support the current budget if it's not aligned with this kind of vision and mission that you're sharing now?
So part of this, and again, it's great that you ask multiple parties this, because as of the time of the budget, I'm going to point actually to Novum, whose 5 council members in the University Council this year chose to abstain from voting on the budget instead of voting for or against. The reason being that they felt not enough education or elucidation is given on the tiny nitty-gritty details of the budget for a student to be able to really make an informed decision within their first months on the council. I would agree that is absolutely the case, and I also have to applaud the efforts of the chair and registry of the University Council, wherein they're trying to fill in those gaps for new council members. Speaking about Khan Party or myself, so I mean, when you look at the budget, of course, each party has its own priorities, and it just seemed at that point of time that under the time constraint, which we were put under a time constraint requiring us to approve the budget, Khan Party chose to prioritize other focus areas.
Which other focus areas are you referring to here, if I may ask?
So I mean, something that was big for Khan Party 2 years ago was getting the executive board of the university to sign the climate letter. And part of this was a series of measures, including divestment from certain funds or certain controversial industries.
But hasn't this been already addressed last year?
So that's the interesting part, because it tends to be one of those, or it has proven to be one of those things that someone needs to keep an eye on constantly, or something, I'm going to use the word fishy, keeps leaking its way back in. And that's what required a really close eye to be able to not just say, oh, we got the university to sign a climate letter, but oh, we're still on top of it and we're making sure that they're adhering to the promises made there.
Thank you very much for clarifying that for us. I'm curious, Bram, what is your stance on this matter, and do you have some ideas? Again, I'm referring to your in your capacity as a fresh pair of eyes to this matter. What would you do differently here?
Well, I think it is really important that we have capacity, and also we try to subsidize language courses for international students as much as possible. Especially in the clip we just saw, within the FHML, within healthcare, it is, well, in the Netherlands, most people speak English, but still some people aren't able to express themselves in English. And especially in healthcare, it is, we need to have people that can talk to everyone. So if for international students to work in healthcare, it is necessary to provide them with the ability to express themselves in Dutch as well. So as a new party, we would want to emphasize the importance of subsidizing language courses as well.
Sure. And how has your party been actually contributing to subsidizing these courses? I agree with you. I think it's important. I was also an international student here, so I'm familiar as well with this matter. I'm curious what your party is doing for that.
Well, it has always been on our agenda and in our election plan as well. And last time we were in the council, we were making a point that this is important, and we were backing efforts for making this available to international students as much as possible.
Okay.
And hopefully when we get re-elected, we will try to stand for it as much as we can. And yeah, we think it's a really important topic, especially if you want to keep international students in the Netherlands.
Sure, sure. Let's take a look at what Listlex has to say about this topic in the debate of last year.
The first thing, of course, would be capacity. I mean, at the moment, there's just no capacity for people who even want to learn the Dutch language courses. I mean, there has been a quite extensive history of people just not being able to enter into the program or only being able to enter into the wrong program. I think it starts off with actually making sure that there's enough capacity for those courses that people can actually take them. And then afterwards, we can look into promoting it, you know. If you want to perhaps start a career within the Netherlands, here are some language courses for your specific profession, for example, or just the basics. And I think a lot of students within our university are also just, they want to learn Dutch, but they can't because there's just no facilities at the moment.
So Bram, coming back to you.
Yeah.
Do you stand by what your colleague shared with us last year, or do you have a different take on this?
I think he tells what he says is completely true. You have to start with capacity. You can't say, well, everyone should go and have language courses and then not have capacity. So there's an integral part to promoting it.
So if I understand correctly, you're still working on increasing that capacity?
Yeah, we want everyone to have the ability to take language courses. Sure. But then you need to have the capacity. And
I agree with you.
If you want to elongate the process so you can have more a deeper understanding of Dutch, the capacity needs to be there. So what Sam says is completely true.
Okay.
And if you want that, you have to put budget towards that.
Okay. And how is your party then working towards this concretely in expanding this capacity? Because I agree with you. Although it does, I have to admit, it does seem a little bit like a chicken and egg kind of dilemma. What should come first, increasing the capacity or answering to the demand? But since you go with increasing capacity, okay, I'll go with you along the way. Can you tell us a bit concretely, how do you plan to do that?
Well, I don't think it's a chicken and an egg problem, because if you have no capacity, why would you promote it? So to create demand and to have promotion, you need capacity. And how you can do that is by expanding what's already there, putting more budget towards there, creating more courses, hiring more people, making sure there is actually the availability. And from then you can look on how can we promote it and how can we subsidize it for students. But it goes hand in hand. It's a process that is not, well, create capacity, promote it. It's just, you have to do it at the same time. But creating capacity is really important for that.
Okay. Thank you for your input. Matthijs, if I may ask for your input on this matter, what is your stance on it?
I think it's very hard to make a decision on what comes first. So to make a decision about that is I think a little bit hard. And yeah, if you just place the capacity thing in the FHML problem, then I think there maybe aren't enough international students there yet in order to start the chicken and egg story, right? So maybe you talk a little bit about capacity. Maybe if there are more international students willing to go there, maybe via alternative bachelor programs, for example, medical sciences, who are really expressing the feeling, who really want to go to do something which is called geneeskunde.
Do you have a certain number in mind? Because at the moment there are about 30% of FHML students that are international. So
yeah, I mean, compared to other faculties, then I mean, if you compare to other faculties, I think that it's like relatively low, I would say. Of course, Maastricht is a big international university, and it's making progress. Like it changes, it becomes more international students come here. So the 30% is, I think, rising, but it's still, I think, relatively not big enough. And also, you have like geneeskunde, who which is the Dutch study program, who is still there, and it's really hard to change that over time. So that also takes a long period, right?
So, if I understand you correctly, it depends a little bit on the students to create more momentum for the University Council to actually provide these options?
There comes the chicken and egg story, I think. It's what the student wants, right? So if there are enough students who want something, and we can make it possible, but again, it can take a long time. We have to think good about how to integrate this thing. And also, you have many faculties, many studies, many international students want to do a specific study program. So I think it's hard to integrate and create whole study programs in a very short term. So.
Sure. But if I am to draw up one conclusion from everything I've heard on this topic so far, is that pretty much all students would actually like access to free language courses in order for them to enhance their Dutch language skills. So I'm going to put this issue to bed. I will trust that each and every one of you is going to do their best to put this a bit forward. And I'm going to move us to the next topic of conversation, which is the matter of housing. So in last year's debate, we have already talked about the urgent need for housing in Maastricht. Surely something has been done by the University Council to help the students who were in danger of not even having a place to sleep at, despite them doing all the possible efforts months before the academic year started. So I'm curious if you could shed some light and tell us a little bit about the things that have been done to address this issue on behalf of Khan. Would you like to tell us something about that?
Yeah, certainly. One of our proudest achievements in our short lifespan is SOS Maastricht. What SOS Maastricht was an initiative created by 3 students 2 years ago.
But this was already in place last year, right?
One of our proudest achievements in recent times is a project called SOS Maastricht. That's right. What SOS Maastricht was an initiative created by 3 students 2 years ago at sort of what was at that point of time the peak of the housing crisis here in Maastricht among students. And what this was a couch sharing initiative which mapped out and linked those who had a free room, a free bed, a free couch to spare with students who could apply and request such a space. Yeah. And within the first year, so we only held on to that for the first year because after that...
Yeah. Is there an update to
There
this
is an
process?
update. But since then, the project has been taken over by Maastricht Housing. And that has gone on... it helps in 2 ways, because Maastricht Housing was also able to reach out for resources to the municipality.
But Maastricht Housing already was in place last year, and so this is already something that has happened. What's new to the table?
Just the resource additions from the municipality, and the fact that this is ongoing is testament to the municipality's own sort of, if I could say, paradigm shift into thinking it's not just about landowners, it's not just about rent abuses, it's also about provision of something. And you see this theme when it comes to the construction of campuses around Maastricht for housing. You see this theme also in promoting not just SOS Maastricht, but also hospi housing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up this information. Where does DOPE stand on the issue of housing in Maastricht? What kind of solutions is your party proposing to address this problem? Because it's been on the agenda for so many years in a row. What are some new ideas then that are on the table and up for discussion now?
Yeah, some new ideas. There's a lot of room which are also not used or not optimized in using, right? So we try to look at different locations in Maastricht. If we can move to a good place and find a good place for students, and then...
How are the students going to find out about these existing new locations that you are going to find? Is your party then taking the responsibility of also providing this information and making it available and accessible to students?
Yeah, of course. the most important thing is information, as you said. And I think the best thing to provide this information is just a clear, big platform which includes all multiple options of housing problems in Maastricht, right?
Sure, but has your party been doing this already? Trying to communicate to students where to find accessible housing options for them?
The only thing I know is that we will for sure try to make it a thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anything that Novum would have to comment on what you just heard from the representative of DOPE?
Yes. So housing is also, for me as a candidate, quite a personal matter, simply because, well, as I said, I had to live in Belgium, actually. So I was across the borders because I could not find a room in Maastricht. And for Novum, back in that time, we have our 4 pillars. But the 4th pillar that we added back then 4 years ago was housing. And interestingly, we have received some criticism from different, let's say, organizations, parties, of why a student party should have housing as their pillar. And that is because we believe there are short-term solutions, short-term relief, but there are also long-term solutions. And the long-term solution that we had in mind is to connect and communicate to the City Council of Maastricht the exact need of what kind of student housing we need. And I still remember from back then when I was running for FHML Council, the main point we had is student housing units, but specifically at Randwijk.
Yeah.
And we communicated that need to the university,
Okay.
but also to the parties we networked in.
Right.
And 4 years later, if I'm now looking at Randwijk, we see a campus being developed where we have student housing units up to 600 already there developed.
Right. So I hear the mention of the City Council, which is something that Khan already has mentioned. And I'm curious if you would like to comment a little bit on the strategies that these 2 candidates have shared before you in regards to addressing the housing problem.
So from what I've understood is that they mentioned to cooperate or communicate with the City Council the need for housing from the university's point of view. Well, what we did is we directly connected with specific local parties that were interested in working with the, in identifying the need of student housing by communicating and working with us. One of these parties would be D66, for example, or members of WALT. And through that collaboration, on the one hand, what we did is communicate the specific needs, which we have seen in the projects now being realized. But we also try to approach the housing situation from a unique perspective when it comes to energy costs. And what we have done here is one of our previous councillors wrote a letter undersigned by many different councillors and organizations and submitted it to the municipality that we would need energy subsidy for students. And luckily, as of recently, I have seen again, energy subsidy has been approved so that international students are able to apply online for energy subsidies.
Okay, thank you very much for your input. Would you like to tell us something about how your party is standing on the housing issue?
Yeah.
Ram?
Well, in the past we worked as well with on getting a long-term solution together with the municipality. But I think this is also from own experience in working in a hotel where I've had many parents call like, can our kids stay at your place? And also, where can we find information?
Is this a collaboration that your party is pursuing, maybe with local hotels? Or sorry, did I get that correctly?
No, not yet. It is something that we have in mind, but that's also a short-term solution. And many hotels can't have people in there for long periods of time. A student hotel being an exemption, but what is important is that all the information should be easy to access. I think especially for international students, all these private companies that work there can be quite confusing. So as Dope also said, creating a big platform on where all the information is centralized, and even if you can't be via Guest House or the options the university provides, you know where to look, and there is actually help for you as a student there.
Yeah.
So it's something we're working on, and want to do in collaboration with the university.
Right.
So we have better visibility for the housing options for as a short-term solution.
To my knowledge, the platform that you are referring to already exists, and it has been mentioned in the last year's debate as well.
What we want to do in the future is that the university have platforms like Maastricht Housing, like the UM Guest House, that do exist. And they're quite easy to use, they're fairly affordable. The problem is the capacity is very low.
So I'm a little bit curious on the progress that your party has been making in regards to this collaboration.
Yeah, well, last year we as a party didn't participate in this progress, but it is more making the platform better and making it easier to find as a student. I think Maastricht and especially the university has wonderful things to offer, and we have a lot of things to offer, but sometimes navigating through the website or navigating through the information given can be quite a maze.
Right.
And I think the communication for you as a student should be easier, and it's something we need to work on in the future so that things are easier to find and you can have all the information just...
I think your goals are absolutely wonderful, and I'm curious to know, even outside of being involved directly with the platform that you just mentioned, how has your party been addressing this issue last year, outside of this university council?
Yeah.
I understood you weren't directly involved, but I'm curious if you pursued it in a different manner.
Not directly. Most of our efforts were in getting new ideas for the next years, building on that. So I can't say we have plans or initiatives ready right now where students can apply and have have a platform ourselves. We also don't have the needs to produce that. But what we do is we as a party try to have the adequate representation, and when we're in the university council, make sure the students are heard and the problems that they have are on the right place. So to give you a concrete solution, I unfortunately can't. It would have been nice, but it's something we're working on to do it in the future.
Thank you. I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody that was here this evening with us. And we have heard the viewpoint of each of these candidates. I'd like to remind you, those of you that are watching this debate, that this has been an extremely important conversation. And whether or not you resonate with one or all the topics that have been discussed here, please cast a vote, because your voice also matters, and this whole process cannot go on without you. Thank you very much for all of you. It was a pleasure to know you and to learn about the things that you are about to work on. I wish you lots of good luck in all your future endeavors.